Good evening and welcome, everybody. My name is Jud Ashman. I have the honor to serve you as mayor of the greatest city in the world, Gaithersburg, Maryland. With me this evening are city council members. We'll start with our council vice president, Robert Wu. Mike Sesma. Ryan Spiegel. Neil Harris. Lorianne Sales. We have our city manager, Tony Tomasello. Somewhere in here is our deputy city manager, Dennis Enslinger. Dennis is over there. And we're going to get to our junior mayors in just a sec. I'm not going to jump the gun on the junior mayors. But if I can ask everyone to please rise while I call upon the Gaithersburg Police Honor Guard to present the colors. I'd like to invite our Junior Mayor Zayd Salahuddin to come lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Zayd. Taking time to reflect on the contributions and sacrifice of others is important. We remember friends and family, colleagues and co-workers who have passed, and we honor those we may not know personally, but who nonetheless have made the ultimate sacrifice on our behalf. Please join me in a moment of silence as we remember all those who have touched our hearts. Thank you. Honor Guard, you may now retire the colors.
Order, on. Right, face. Forward, march, left, 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 right. Left, 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 right. Left, right over left, left, left.
Please be seated. Let's give them a great big round of applause. Tonight, we celebrate people from all walks of life who've chosen to make Gaithersburg their home. We are a better and stronger community because of our differences and because of our similarities. We especially celebrate the tireless volunteers who give so much of themselves in service to others. Gaithersburg is also fortunate to have many creative and dedicated civil servants working on your behalf. Would all those who work for the city of Gaithersburg please stand and be recognized? Now I'd like to invite Council Vice President Rob Wu to extend some additional acknowledgments.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight we are here to celebrate all things Gaithersburg and to thank you for your contributions. Our involved citizens make this an energetic, dynamic, and wonderfully diverse community. Would everyone who is a member of a board, commission, or committee, or who volunteers and serves the city of Gaithersburg in any capacity, please stand and be recognized. I'd also like to extend a very special thank you to Asbury Methodist Village for once again hosting this event and for being such a wonderful neighbor over the years. They deserve a hearty round of applause as well. Several current and former elected officials and past award winners have indicated they would be joining us this evening. And please join me in welcoming. Got a long list, so please hold your applause till the end. Federal officials representing Senator Ben Cardin, Ken Reichert, representing Congressman David Trone, Andrew Donlin. Maryland state elected officials, District 17 Senator Cheryl Kagan, District 17 Delegate Julie Polakovic-Carr, District 39 Delegate Leslie Lopez, District 39 Delegate and our 2014 distinguished friend Kirill Resnick. County and other municipally elected officials, County Executive Mark Elrick, County Council Member and former Mayor of Gaithersburg Sidney Katz, and County Council Member Gabe Albornoz. Former elected officials here in the city of Gaithersburg, former Mayor Bruce Goldstone, Sidney Katz we'd mentioned, and former Council Member Yvette Monroe, as well as former Council Member John Schlichting. We are also pleased to be joined by, from the Montgomery County Planning Board, Casey Anderson, Natalie Fanny Gonzalez, and Tina Patterson, the Director of the Montgomery County Department of Liquor Control, Robert Dorfman, Director of the Montgomery County Up County Regional Office, Catherine Matthews, representing the Montgomery County Police Department, District 6 Acting Commander Lieutenant Nancy Hudson, Gaithersburg Police Chief Mark Scirocco, who stood earlier. Person of Character Awardees, Mary Canapari, Maureen Herndon, and Janet Newman. Distinguished Friends, 2007, Distinguished Friend Jerry GEMMELL, 2016, Distinguished Friend Bill Schlossenberg, and 2017, Distinguished Friend Ken Weiss. Outstanding Organizations, 1990, Gaithersburg, Washington Grove Fire Department, represented by Steve Hayes. For 1998, Gaithersburg Help, represented by Margot Goldman. For 2005, Gaithersburg Lions Club, represented by Dr. Robert Wilson. 2012, Women Who Care Ministries, represented by Judith Clark. For 2016, Asbury Methodist Village, represented by our host, Bob Liebrick. And finally, Distinguished Citizens. For 2003, Britta Monaco. For 2004, Charles Farrell. And for 2017, Oscar Alvarenga. That is all. So next up is, yes, I'm sorry, applause.
To formally introduce our junior mayors, I'd like to call upon Councilmember Ryan Spiegel.
Good evening, and thank you all again for joining us for this wonderful celebration for our city and for all that you do on a daily basis to make it a wonderful place for us to call home. Tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing our incoming and outgoing junior mayors. And I like to think that selecting me to do this had nothing to do with the fact that during this portion of the program, there's a stool placed on the side of the podium for those who are too short to reach it, but maybe that's wishful thinking. For the past 12 years, fourth graders have been invited to enter an essay contest to tell us what they would do if they were mayor of Gaithersburg. Through the essay and subsequent video interview process, a junior mayor is selected to represent the youth of our city for an entire year. This year, we received more than 50 essays, all focused on the theme, Together We Can. When asked during his interview why he would be the best choice to be our junior mayor, this year's incoming junior mayor said, quote, "I'm a good problem solver, but if my ideas aren't working, I'd see if there was someone else who has an idea." What a perfect example of the collaborative spirit we try to embrace here in Gaithersburg. Incorporated into the Junior Mayor program is an opportunity for our young representative to host a community service project at his or her school in which the mayor and my colleagues on the city council and I will be involved. We look forward to exploring his ideas of how to make Gaithersburg a better place. I'm pleased to introduce the 2019 Junior Mayor, Diego Flores-Cerezo. Diego is a 4th grade student at Summit Hall Elementary School, and we look forward to working with you, Diego, and having you attend events with us throughout the year. Diego will be joining us at the Mayor and City Council meeting on June 3rd to be officially introduced to the public and to read his winning essay. Tonight, I have a certificate of recognition for his appointment. Mayor, I hope you don't mind if this is your certificate, but I'll read it. This is a certificate of recognition from the Mayor and City Council of Gaithersburg presented to Diego Flores-Cerezo of Summit Hall Elementary School for participating in the Maryland Municipal League If I Were Mayor 4th grade essay contest and for being named the City of Gaithersburg 2019 Junior Mayor, presented this 25th day of April 2019 and signed by Mayor Ashman. Congratulations. Congratulations again, Diego. It takes remarkable maturity and poise to speak at events like this and to represent an entire community of young people. Our current junior mayor, Zayd Salahuddin, has performed this task admirably. You've seen him many times this past year at special celebrations and ceremonies throughout the city, and his image even graces the cover of our spring magazine, this month's issue, so make sure to take a copy before you leave tonight. We have several on tables around the facility. This personable young man is now a 5th grader at Dufif Elementary School, and tonight he'll be turning over the reins of leadership. At an assembly tomorrow, and then during lunch all next week, Zayd will be joining with the city to host a composting pilot project at his school, furthering his commitment to environmental stewardship. But before he goes, we have a small presentation for him. So Zayd, could you come up and join me? This is an official junior mayor's gavel mounted on a plaque presented to Zayd Salahuddin, Gaithersburg Junior Mayor for 2018 and 2019. Congratulations. Don't go anywhere yet, Zayd. Zayd, we are very proud of your accomplishments. We know you will continue to do great things to help the Gaithersburg community, and the mayor and members of the city council join with me in expressing our sincere appreciation for everything you've done. We wish you all the best for what we know will be a very successful future. And now, I believe you have a few parting remarks for us.
Thank you, Councilman Spiegel. Hello, everyone. First, before I talk about the amazing experience I had as junior mayor, I would like to congratulate Diego again on being chosen to be the next junior mayor. And also, there are many people that I would like to thank. I would like to thank my mom, my dad, and my sisters for helping me with my speeches and getting me to and from all of the fun events I got to participate in. Thanks to the City Council, Mayor Jud, and the city staff for organizing events, making me actually able to be junior mayor, and for doing so much more. Thanks to my teachers and principal for helping me with my junior mayor service project. Thanks to my constituents, aka the citizens of Gaithersburg, for coming to some of the great events Gaithersburg has to offer and welcoming me with smiles and cheers everywhere I went. Thanks to my friends for supporting me, helping me with my service project, helping me with the In Gaithersburg magazine photo shoot, and being moderately annoying. And last but not least, I would like to thank my very intimidating security guards. Please stand up. For escorting me here and being the best little cousins ever. Now, I'd like to tell you about some of my favorite things I got to do as junior mayor. These events were all a blast, so if you couldn't go to any of them, you really should go the next time they happen. First was the Labor Day parade. I got to toss out commemorative coins to the crowd. I got my own seat in the cool parade car, and I got my grandma to run up out of the crowd and jump onto the parade car next to me. I got to give speeches at the teacher and principal breakfast and at the character counts event at Rachel Carson Elementary, which was my very first speech as junior mayor. At the Gaithersburg Book Festival, I met a ton of my neighbors, many authors, including my aunt, who was one of the speakers, got a bunch of books, and even got to be interviewed for TV. Finally, one of the coolest things I got to do was at Summerfest, which is Gaithersburg's Independence Day celebration. Besides playing with my friends, eating a bunch of junk food, and watching the fireworks, I got to hang out on stage with Governor Larry Hogan. Not only did being junior mayor allow me to do many more fun things, it also taught me all sorts of lessons. It taught me to make connections with others because I got to meet and work with people I never would have had a chance to if I weren't junior mayor. It also taught me not to get super nervous when public speaking, which I still do sometimes, but I'm getting better at it because I have had quite a bit of practice over this past year. Thirdly, it taught me to think of ways to improve my community because I had to think of an idea for my junior mayor service project, which will be happening next week. I will be introducing a composting program at my school because helping the environment is important to me, which he already said. I have learned a lot and am very grateful for the experience I had as junior mayor. At first, I thought I wasn't interested in going to politics, but I learned that I'm definitely sure I'm not interested in going to politics. But seriously, I'm sure it will help me connect with new people and make friends as I go on to different schools and into different jobs in the future. So, for in the future, when I invent the world's first teleportation device, and I'm being interviewed on the news, and they ask me, what was one of the most amazing things you've ever done in your entire life? I'll tell them that from 2018 to 2019, I was junior mayor of my hometown, the best city in the world, Gaithersburg, Maryland.
All right, thank you. I have to follow that. Well, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Zayd, for your great service this year. You were such a natural, and it's been such a pleasure. I was gushing about you to your parents this evening, and I will continue. And Diego, we're looking forward to this next year with you, and I'm sure it's going to be entirely awesome. So now I'm going to invite everyone to take a seat in the audience, because I have to lower the screen, and it would be bad if they were sitting there. Okay. When you think of a city, what comes to mind? Buildings, streets, homes, traffic lights, beavers. I'm just kidding, just kidding. Yes, but those things alone don't make a city. It's the things that connect us that make a city. It's our relationships with our neighbors. It's the sense of shared history and values. It's the common cultural experiences. As a city government, it's obvious that we serve the community by looking after the fundamentals, like the buildings and streets and such. What's less obvious is that it's also in our best interest to foster those things that connect us. Tonight, I'm going to talk about serving by connecting. In 1873, if you stood at the intersection of Summit and Diamond Avenues in Old Town, you might have seen a single rail car filled with goods packed at the local cannery, waiting to be hooked up to a freight train. In 1899, if you were on DeSelum Avenue at night, you would have seen a scientist at the Latitude Observatory calibrating his telescope and taking celestial measurements to aid in global navigation long before the days of computers and GPS devices. In 1960, if you were standing at the corner of Brooks and Park Avenues in Old Town, you might have been eagerly awaiting the opening of the brand new Gaithersburg Library. In 1999, fun fact, if you happen to be out at Seneca Creek State Park, you might have witnessed the making of the iconic film The Blair Witch Project. Gaithersburg has a rich history in the arts and sciences, and one of the things that makes this community unique is how we celebrate that history by making modern-day references to connect us with our past. At the corner of Summit and Diamond Avenues today is Old Town Plaza. The train yard is gone, but History Park remains with the rail cars and a museum dedicated to preserving the past. In a couple weeks, we'll turn the splash fountains on for the season, once again creating a place where the people of Gaithersburg will congregate, much like they did when they were waiting for that freight train in 1873. In that same vicinity, we're working on another project that would use public art to enhance the Old Town experience and perhaps pay tribute to our history. There's a huge brick wall along the railroad tracks that a visionary artist could turn into something truly special. Maybe a mural, maybe light or projection or sculpture or a combination. This past winter, a committee reviewed submissions from incredible artists all over the world. Stay tuned, because we could do something really cool in this space that would connect our community through public art. Observatory Park today is an homage to the science that came before us. The work done at this facility, one of 6 on the same latitude around the globe, laid the groundwork for advances in navigation. We've embraced that scientific past, creating an interactive park with placards telling the story of what took place there. And we take it a step further by hosting skywatching programs that routinely draw hundreds of visitors. This year is the 120th anniversary of the observatory and the 50th anniversary of man's first steps on the moon. 6 skywatching nights are planned between now and October, where you can bring your own telescope or borrow one of ours to gaze at the moon, stars, and planets, and enjoy some space-themed movies. Gaithersburg's literary beginnings started with a small lending library above Barnett's drugstore in the late 1930s. It moved into the fire station building on Diamond Avenue in the 1940s and into a standalone building at Brooks and Park Avenues in 1960 on the site of what is now Constitution Gardens Park. While the Gaithersburg Library moved to its present location on Montgomery Village Avenue in 1979, the park still contains references to its literary past. In addition to the nature play space we constructed in 2015, we preserved the soul of the library, keeping the historic library posts, installing a giant storyteller's chair surrounded by a circle of log benches, and including 2 little free library boxes so visitors can take or leave a book for others to enjoy. When history books are written decades from now, I'm hopeful they will also include another notable moment in our literary history with the founding of the Gaithersburg Book Festival in 2010. We'll get to that later. And as I mentioned, back in 1999, an independent film crew set out to make a horror film like no other, blurring the lines of reality and fiction with mostly improvised dialogue. The Blair Witch Project popularized the found footage filming technique, and to be honest, it scared the living daylights out of people. I had an employee, I'm not making this up, I had an employee at the time who swore to me that it was real and literally was losing sleep over it. With a worldwide gross of $250 million, the Blair Witch Project became one of the most successful independent films of all time. And while the story is ostensibly set in Burkittsville, Maryland, much of the filming was actually done at Seneca Creek State Park. Coming up in July, co-director of that film, Eduardo Sanchez, will be joining us for a special screening at the Arts Barn, giving us insights into this groundbreaking film. So these programs are all about connecting the Gaithersburg of today with our shared history. From time to time, we also have opportunities to serve the community by connecting people in a more spiritual sense. A few years ago, our community was heartbroken when a young mother and her 2 children died tragically when a plane crashed into their home near the air park. We lost Marie, Cole, and Devin GEMMELL that day. Marie's husband, Ken, and their daughter, Arabelle, were spared as they weren't home at the time. So recently, Ken and Arabelle joined forces with an organization called the Where Angels Play Foundation to build a new playground for little children so that the memory of Marie, Cole, and Devin can live on through the joy of others. This new playground will be at our City Hall's Griffith Park. And on behalf of the city of Gaithersburg, it means a lot to us to be able to host this new play space. Now on a whole other topic, a little bit happier. When you're thinking about brushing up on your culinary skills, you don't necessarily think of consulting your local municipality, right? And yet last month, we as a city took the unusual step of teaching people how to bake bread. We teamed up with King Arthur Flour and its Bake for Good program to hand out hundreds of baking kits, giving adults and children the essentials to make a loaf of bread. But there was a catch. The kits had enough ingredients to bake 2 loaves, and we asked that people keep one for themselves and share the other one with a friend, a neighbor, or someone in need via a nonprofit organization. It's estimated that about 6,600 residents in Gaithersburg rely on food assistance programs every year. That's a lot of our neighbors. Partnering with the Bake for Good program allowed us to focus attention on this important issue. King Arthur has been conducting similar programs in schools throughout the country, but this was the first time it was embraced by an entire community, and we were truly honored to be the pilot site for their first community-wide Bake for Good. Now, for those of you who've ever come to a mayor and city council meeting, you know that we allow time for people from the public to come up and testify about really whatever's on their mind. So earlier this year, a 6-year-old kid stepped up to the podium. And it caught all our attention because, one, it's exceedingly rare that 6-year-olds come to testify at city council meetings. And by rare, I mean it never happens. And 2, because this boy just got up there and stole the show. He introduced himself as Kavanaugh Bell and asked us to consider declaring February 21st, 2019 as Bullying Awareness Day in Gaithersburg. He told us he wanted to bring awareness to the issue after finding out that one of his very best friends had contemplated suicide last year after being bullied. He picked February 21st because that was the anniversary of the death of Gabriel Tay, an 8-year-old boy from Ohio who took his own life. So, of course, we did proclaim it, and as I said at the time, sometimes it takes the youngest among us to remind us what's important in the world. We are so proud to support Kavanaugh's anti-bullying efforts. As always, we try to leverage technology to connect and serve our community. We're not quite at the level where you can say, hey Alexa, do I need a permit to take down a 4-foot tree? And I know we're not at that point because I tried this weekend with my Google Home Mini and didn't quite work. But the functionality is certainly not long at all in coming. We're constantly searching for new and efficient ways to feed you the information you want in the way that you want it. And therein lies the challenge. An app, a tweet, a text, an email, an actual mailed postcard. Yes, there are still people who want that. With roughly 70,000 people and unfortunately a finite budget, how can we serve our residents in the most efficient way possible and not lose the human connection that's so important? We've made a few strides this past year. Brand new city website. It's got an easy translation feature for our diverse population, much cleaner navigation, a search tool that makes suggestions based on what others are looking for, and a handy employee directory so you can find a real live person to talk to. And the site design is really beautiful. Our GrowGaithersburg.com website, which is our economic development hub, also underwent a complete overhaul. You need to check out the Why Gaithersburg page for a great synopsis about doing business in our great city. We have our Geographic Information Systems, or GIS, which will be heavily used as the 2020 census approaches. When you hear the tagline that every person counts, believe it, because it's estimated that for every person who goes uncounted in Maryland, the state potentially loses about $2,000 in federal funding. The overall response rate in Gaithersburg last time around was about 80%, and that's pretty good given that the overall rate in the US was 74%, but we can do better. And using our GIS maps, we are pinpointing those neighborhoods that seem to be the hardest to reach, and that's where we'll focus our efforts. As community leaders, we'll be reaching out to you for help. We're tapping into our very robust GIS system to create a public-facing gallery of mapping applications where you could find things like whether there's a basketball court at your local park, or what day your recycling gets picked up, or what's up with that construction program around the corner, or where to vote in city elections, which, by the way, we have a city election this year. There are November 5th for 3 city council seats. As we explore new technologies, your feedback informs our solutions. You wanted an easier way to buy tickets to shows at the Arts Barn? Welcome to online ticket sales. You want to see photos we took of you at our events? Welcome to photos.gaithersburgmd.gov, a public-facing photo library that will debut this summer. You wanted us to improve how you register for recreation classes and sports programs? There's an enhanced mobile solution for that. Nonprofit organizations wanted an easier way to apply for city funding. We've now got an online grant portal, and you wanted customized news fed to you based on your interests. Thousands of you now subscribe to more than 15 email newsletters. What you don't necessarily see is what goes on behind the curtain to make all this work. Things like server upgrades, system redundancies, new programs to internally review plans and permits, an asset management system to help us spend infrastructure dollars better, and expanded security cameras, and a new criminal intelligence system to help us catch the bad guys. By the way, overall crime was down nearly 10% over the last year. That's what happens when a stellar, well-trained police force has access to the technology they need to keep the community safe. Serving and connecting. We are trying to stay connected to you, and we're trying to serve you in the way that best suits your needs. So this is my 12th year in elected office here in the city, and as each year passes, my appreciation for our city staff grows. The other day, for example, I got an email from a neighbor. He says, Don from Public Works, who mows the grass in the park, thanked me for picking up after my dog. He said he sees me all the time and is very happy that I care as much about our park as he does. Don is a great ambassador for Gaithersburg. Little things like Don's encouraging remarks to my neighbor might seem small, but they're not. We are the greatest city in the world because we make it that way, because we care. And going that little extra mile is like paying that care forward. It strengthens a connection among those around us who care, and it inspires others to care as well. And as far as I'm concerned, anyone who serves and connects and inspires and makes the world better around them better, they're a superhero. Honestly, I could tell stories of our staff's good service and going the extra mile all night long. I'm not going to do it all night long, but I'm going to do a few. There's a story about Code Enforcement Officer David Alawa, who on 2 separate occasions during inspections discovered toddlers home alone without an adult, and took it upon himself to make sure the situation was taken care of and the kids were made safe. And another where on an inspection, David encountered a woman who was totally out of it and later thought enough of the situation to notify the building's management to check in on her. They found her unconscious, but alive. And who knows what would have happened if our code inspector didn't go the extra mile. Now in city circles, he's known as David the Nanny Alawa, superhero. Of course, there are always great police stories to tell. Like when officers Fortin, Seek, and Diggins saved a man's life who had OD'd on heroin, or when Officer Bauer saved a man who'd suffered cardiac arrest. And that's the tip of the iceberg. Our police officers are superheroes. And some of you will remember that early evening in January when a lady missed the turn into the Wells parking lot in Old Town and somehow drove onto the railroad tracks. Ray Rokes from our Planning and Code Department was on his way to pick up a sandwich prior to an evening meeting when he saw the car on the tracks where Martin and Will, two residents at Wells Robertson House, had just happened on the scene themselves. Ray took quick action, calling 911 and asking that the railroad be alerted. We all know how busy those rail lines can be, especially during the evening rush hour, and sure enough, they heard a train whistle in the distance. The three guys were unable to get the car off the tracks, so they whisked the woman to safety and took cover in case the inbound train wouldn't be able to stop. Thankfully, it was a MARC train that was slowing down anyway, and it was able to stop just before hitting the car. Had it been a CSX freight train, this story might have had a very different ending. A couple other people from MARC jumped out and joined the team, and together they pushed the car to safety. Ray never did have time for dinner that night. He ended up with a candy bar from a City Hall vending machine. So a few weeks later, Planning Director John Schlichting and I treated Ray, Martin, and Will to a hearty lunch to make good on their missed meal and recognize their heroic efforts. These are just a few of the many, many, many examples of how our staff go beyond just service. They genuinely care and feel that connection with the community. So when I speak about Gaithersburg fostering the things that connect us, the relationships with our neighbors, the sense of shared history and values, the common cultural experiences, I've always felt that the book festival helps move the needle on all those things in a profound way. You knew this was coming. Saturday, May 18th, will be our milestone 10th annual Gaithersburg Book Festival. It is hard to believe. I feel like I've been bugging everyone about the book festival since day one, to the point of obnoxiousness. And so I apologize, but on the other hand, why should tonight be any different? We'll be featuring 140 plus of the world's best authors and great programs covering all genres and interests. In fact, the programming at this particular festival may be the one that most resembles the city itself. It is filled with diversity. Diverse authors, diverse topics, diverse workshops. For example, in addition to several notable Latino authors, for the first time we have a writing workshop that's going to be entirely conducted in Spanish for people who want to work on creative writing in Spanish. We have several very accomplished African-American authors whose books focus on the Black experience in America. These include Damon Young, Tressie McMillan Cottom, and Chef Kwame Onwuachi from the Top Chef. We have a number of books that tell immigrant stories, such as Angie Kim's Miracle Creek, Alan Gratz's Refugee, and the Washington Post's Monica Hesse with The War Outside. We're heavy on sports this year with former Wizard Etan Thomas, and former Maryland Terp legends Walt Williams and Tony Massenburg, and Jonathan Ives' great biography of Muhammad Ali. There's one particular sports book I want to take a moment to highlight because this author is the perfect one to bring the family to see and be inspired. In February of 1992, all the way across the world in Siberia, a girl named Tatiana was born. She had a rare condition, and her mom, then a teenager, was wholly unprepared to care for her. She put her up for adoption, and this rare condition caused the lower part of Tatiana's legs to have to be amputated when she was 18 months old. An American couple living in Baltimore adopted her. They renamed her Jessica Long. And learning to walk with prostheses, it turned out that despite her disability, Jessica grew up to be quite a natural athlete. She joined her first competitive swim team in 2002 when she was 10. And in just 1 year, she was selected as Maryland Swimming's 2003 Female Swimmer of the Year with a disability. Not long thereafter, at 12, Jessica competed at her first Paralympic Games, winning several medals. She's gone on to compete at 4 Paralympics, winning numerous medals, setting all kinds of world records, and becoming one of the most decorated athletes in U.S. history. She'll be joining us at GBF to speak about her life story and sign her memoir, Unsinkable. Great program. And this is the last one I'm going to highlight. Almost done here, I promise. Chris Wilson was born and raised in inner city DC by his grandparents and a single mom who was plagued by struggles with poverty, addiction, and destructive relationships. Chris ran into trouble as a teenager, and it all culminated in an act that I'll say parenthetically seemed a lot like self-defense, but an act in which he shot a man to death. At 17, Chris Wilson was convicted as an adult of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. And in Maryland in the 90s, the political trend was to move away from parole, any chance of parole for those with life sentences. So Chris had little reason to think he'd ever walk out of that prison a free man. But something clicked in him. And even if he'd be in prison forever, he decided to make profound changes in his life. He got his GED. He started tutoring other prisoners to help them get their GEDs. He started a book club, which he called the Book Crushers. I love that name. And worked on learning other languages and helping get prisoners access to community college courses. And he ended up doing so much, not only for himself and his fellow prisoners and the prison administration, that after 16 years, a judge took notice and reconsidered his sentence and granted him parole. And since getting out, Chris Wilson has started businesses and focused on giving opportunities to the previously unemployed and also to former convicts. He's also an artist and a motivational speaker. Not only is this a great story of personal redemption, it brings up important questions of public policy, such as what the priorities of our penal system should be and how we as a society should treat those who've served their time and are looking for a fresh start. I'm actually going to be interviewing Chris Wilson on stage, and I'm really excited about bringing this important conversation to our community. So anyway, those are just a few of the many, many amazing authors and programs we're hosting. Please go to our website to learn more about it. Again, Saturday, May 18th, this is our milestone 10th annual Gaithersburg Book Festival. This has always been a community-wide effort. We couldn't do it without the people here, my city council colleagues. We couldn't do it without the people in this room, without the businesses, and of course, without the support of our city staff and local government. We've built this thing into a world-class event, and I hope you'll join us. Bring everyone you know. It's free to attend, free to park, open to everyone, altogether awesome. Books and food and beer and wine available for sale. We're closing this year a special 1-hour concert at 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. by Erin Willett, who you might remember as a finalist on The Voice, and her band. So, Gaithersburg Book Festival. Now, in closing, we want to check all the boxes and do all the fundamental things that city governments do. But that's not the end of it for us. We want to live in a community that takes a thoughtful approach to the future while keeping a respectful eye on the past. We want and need to debate tough issues, but we want to do it with civility, and we want to know that at the end of the day, we did what we could in ways big and small to foster those things that connect us. Why? Because people's lives are built around their community. Kids are born here and raised here. People fall in love here. A young girl scores her first goal on a city soccer field and remembers that moment all her life. Neighbors whose cultural backgrounds are from opposite spots on the globe meet and become friends here. Someday, maybe a young man from Parklands or Bennington is going to get his first job at one of the businesses over at Spectrum because of the new Watkins Mill Bridge. It connects him, it allows him to walk or bike over there. Whether we're planting spring flowers in the median, or inspecting a rental property, or planning a big community event, or approving a new development, or building a new park. These jobs are important, as are the roles you all play in supporting them. In serving and fostering connections, we are creating the backdrop of people's lives. And think about that. It is an honor to be able to serve in that endeavor. And it's also an honor to work by your side while doing it. May we continue to serve and to connect, and may we continue to invest ourselves in making Gaithersburg the greatest city in the world. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Our Citizenship Awards recognize organizations and individuals who give tirelessly of their time and energy to make our community a better place. Before we recognize them individually, please enjoy a short video that highlights their contributions. And before that, let me give a shout out to the staff in the Public Information Office, both for helping with me in the speech and the PowerPoint, and also with the video. You guys are awesome. Give them a round of applause, please.
Gaithersburg has a long reputation as being one of the nation's great places to live, and we proudly celebrate everyone in our community that helps make it so. Through our annual Citizenship Awards, we shine a spotlight on some remarkable organizations and individuals who reflect the essence of what it means to live and work in Gaithersburg. Their commitment to collaboration, compassion, and community reminds us that we all have unique opportunities to positively influence the world around us. This year's distinguished citizen, Janet Newman, discovered a passion for volunteering in an unconventional way. Retiring early to travel the world with a scientist's husband who works at NIST, Janet answered an ad in the Gaithersburg Gazette for an organization seeking volunteers to help with its transportation and prescription services and its food pantry. Thus started a long and rewarding journey with Gaithersburg Help.
I volunteer because it makes me feel good to know that I am helping someone else. I know that there are families in need that I can maybe just do one small part of, fill one small need financially for getting a prescription that will matter. I can have them connect with our food pantry, which they may be able to provide enough food that they can save money to purchase other things, pay for their rent.
This year's distinguished friend is Mary Canapari. Her journey from impoverished roots on an Irish farm to operating the Lord's Table Soup Kitchen in Gaithersburg is a testament to the power of persistence and faith. Mary is the backbone of the kitchen, a program whose influence has been felt not only by the customers enjoying a nutritious meal, but by the countless volunteers who've been enriched through their service to others.
I walk away with a wonderful, wonderful feeling of having accomplished something because of the wonderful people, guests and volunteers. I mean, there were over 600 people from the area. That's a lot of Gaithersburg people. And they are funny and dedicated and kind and smart. And so it's wonderful to be numbered as one of them.
The Kentlands Community Foundation is the recipient of the 2019 Outstanding Organization Award. The foundation was created to enrich the lives of residents, not just in Kentlands, but in the greater Gaithersburg area. Driven by volunteers, it is a creative grassroots organization that represents and nurtures the human element of new urbanism.
But I'm very proud of being part of this organization because, again, everyone is a volunteer and everybody is doing their best to promote the arts, to promote urbanism, and to promote the greater community.
The Kentlands Community Foundation supports programs that help people feel like they're part of a community. None of these programs happen without people stepping up and doing the heavy lifting and the legwork to make them happen.
Volunteerism is very important. It's the engine that runs the foundation. It's how we operate our board, it's how we operate our programs, it's how everything in this big machine rolls.
Our award recipients share the common bond of activism. They have all witnessed a need, and through their passion and persistence, they have risen to the challenge of action. Through their efforts, they not only impact individuals on a daily basis, they strengthen an entire community in the process. Janet answered that long-ago newspaper ad, making an initial pledge to volunteer at Gaithersburg Help 1 day a month. Well, 16 years later, she is putting a background in nursing and business management to good use as the director of the Gaithersburg Help Prescription Program. It's an almost daily commitment now.
I'm managing a team of volunteers who return calls from clients who are in need of prescription assistance. These may be uninsured or underinsured families, and they may have to make a choice between whether they have food on the table or they get a prescription. What we do as a team with Gaithersburg Help, each person gives a little bit. Some give more, some give less, but we all are contributing to a package of services that is very much needed in the community. We are able to assist families in a very significant way, and we've been doing that for 50 years. Knowing that it's all volunteers is quite a feat for any organization.
Mary helped establish the soup kitchen in 1984 and promised to stay for a couple of months to get it up and running. 35 years later, she continues to lead an effort to not only serve hot meals 5 days a week, but to establish relationships with the customers, offering them a sense of community and exploring their needs more fully so she and other volunteers can connect with them with vital social services.
It is important because it's a place where a certain segment of the population can go and have a nutritious, good meal. But as well as that, have a place where they can work with people who really have their interests at heart. Like, for instance, referring people for eyeglasses, for health care, for programs, recovery programs, mental health programs. So for us to encourage them to stay with the programs, I think that that is the most important, one of the most important things we do.
Kentlands was the front-runner in new urbanism, walkable, livable places where citizen involvement is a key component to fostering a sense of neighborhood. Through volunteer outreach, the Kentlands Community Foundation facilitates that involvement, creating and conducting programs that make a difference in the lives of people far beyond its neighborhood boundaries.
The village particularly captures the essence of the organization because it basically works into a very active engagement of the citizenship. And they do it through activities, they do it through the arts, they do it through volunteerism, to helping the neighbors.
The village is part of a national movement to provide assistance for older people and people with disabilities so that they can stay where they are. They can live in the place that they've grown accustomed to for years and not have to move to a home of some sort because they can no longer handle the rigors of daily life.
Kentlands offers a really good approach about how these things can be handled, and that is a really great portion of what the Kentlands Community Foundation does. We shine a spotlight on the things that we can learn from this development and apply it to the general community.
We're going to continue to try to maintain the grassroots, volunteer-led nature of our organization. We always want residents to be able to come to us with a good idea about how to build community, and we want to be able to support them going forward.
Our awardees are the heart and soul of this community, architects of a city that enjoys a reputation as an appealing, welcoming enclave within a vast metropolis. Collectively, they have been involved in public service in Gaithersburg for nearly 70 years. With all of that experience, we ask them to look to the future and give us their thoughts.
I can imagine in another 30 years, our city will continue to grow, but I do believe it will maintain a small town vibe because this community really seems to care. People care about each other and they want to help out and reach out to their neighbors.
And I love the fact that every community has an identity. I think that Kentlands Community Foundation fits into that concept, and I think can work more towards empowering the city as well in the coming years.
I just sincerely hope that the spirit of hospitality and welcoming the stranger, that's not diminished in any way, that survives the change, whatever the change is going to be.
They all agree that Gaithersburg has a bright future. And why wouldn't it, with contributors like these and so many more helping to pave the way?
Thank you, Mayor, for those remarks. So I have the pleasure of introducing our distinguished friend of Gaithersburg. Our 2019 distinguished friend, Mary Canapari, did I get that right? Hopefully, is a remarkable woman. More than 35 years ago, she took what was just the seed of an idea to help the homeless and turned it into her life's work, fortifying not just those in need of sustenance, but enriching an entire community along the way, and schooling us all about what it really means to be truly engaged. For Mary, the Lord's Table Soup Kitchen might be more aptly named the Lord's Table Nourishment Center. It's a lot more than soup. Yes, people of all ages who visit get a hot meal, lovingly prepared by dozens of volunteers, but Mary has also made sure that the nourishment goes beyond food. Volunteers and professionals are on hand to engage the visitors and make them feel welcome, to help identify issues beyond hunger, and to connect them with life-changing social services. We were told that once a staff member on our homeless services street outreach team was able to secure a spot in a long-term treatment facility for a local resident who had a severe drug and alcohol problem, but it was in Colorado. Mary worked tirelessly to secure funds to get him a round-trip bus ticket, something that was required before he could be admitted. That's Mary in a nutshell. Seeing a need and refusing to take no for an answer when a fellow human being's welfare is at stake. We need more Marys in our world. For her significant, long-standing contributions to the Gaithersburg community, it gives me great pleasure to present Mary Canapari with the 2019 Distinguished Friend Award. Well, before we present the Distinguished Award to Mary, there's also a proclamation from our State Senator Cheryl Kagan and our Congressman David Trone. So we're going to package.
It's lovely to be a friend of Gaithersburg. But I'm one of thousands, well, perhaps not thousands, but hundreds, who have volunteered at the Lord's Table, and some are here tonight. I would never have been able to do this volunteering for the last 35 years if it wasn't for the support of my husband, Herb, and my family, who have just been encouraging me and feeding me all these years. Also, I'm very, very proud of the Lord's table, because out of it grew the Wells Robertson House, the dwelling place, the men's shelter on Goody Drive, and then all the safe havens in the area. So it has been simply a privilege, a wonderful privilege. Thank you very much.
All right, hello everybody. I'm very excited to be up here tonight to introduce an organization that contains so many of my friends and neighbors. The Outstanding Organization Award gives us the opportunity to acknowledge the associations, nonprofit organizations, and businesses whose contributions enhance our community. This organization is truly outstanding, and I can tell you from personal experience, every year on the 5K they have me outstanding on the corner. All right, but seriously, thank you. I got the approval of the mayor on that one, so that's rare for my jokes. Anyway, I'm beyond pleased to present this year's award to the Kentlands Community Foundation. We are joined by Chair Rob Gerritsen, Executive Director Elizabeth Monaco, and members of the foundation board. When Kentlands was envisioned decades ago as a model of new urbanism, it was understood that the concept was not just about the details of architecture. What would make this new urbanist community ultimately successful and sustainable were the connections between the people who called it home. With popular programs like KidServe, which matches 5 to 13-year-olds with service opportunities, the villages at Kentlands, Lakelands to help neighbors age in place, groups like Go Green, the Cub Scout Pack 221, the Acoustic Jam, the Film Society, and so many more, the KCF volunteers fulfill the foundation's missions to advance new urbanism, enrich members of the greater Gaithersburg community through cultural programs, and provide opportunities for residents to support one another. We are especially grateful to receive proceeds from KCF's largest event, the Kentlands Lakelands 5K. More than $165,000 has been donated to the City of Gaithersburg Summer Camp Scholarship Fund over the past 16 years, which makes for a lot of really happy campers. So in recognition of its impactful programs that enrich our city, it gives me really great pleasure to present the 2019 Outstanding Organization Award to the Kentlands Community Foundation. Please come on up. Come on, all of you. Don't be shy.
Don't get behind me.
I'll get behind everyone.
Get my good side? Go ahead, all right? Where's Elizabeth?
Don't worry, I don't have a speech. I just want to thank a few people, most importantly, the mayor and city council for this tremendous honor, all the city employees and officials who we work with throughout the year and throughout the 25 years of the foundation to put on our increasingly large roster of events. I'm going to single a couple people out. Michelle Potter, Director of Parks and Recreation and Culture. She is an incredible partner and has been working with us for almost as long as the foundation has been doing its thing. And Councilmember Mike Sesma, who has got to be the longest continuously serving member of our board since 2008. He's outlasted all of us volunteer board members. And I just want to thank all of the volunteers that make the organization happen. I just inherited a really good organization. Many of my predecessors are here, and there are hundreds, nay, thousands of people who have volunteered over the years to make the organization and the events that we put on happen. I can't wait to see what happens in the next 25 years. Thank you.
Good evening. Let's make sure I get the right one. I think you've, the thread between all of our awardees tonight is people that help build a strong community. That's what Gaithersburg is all about. We are Gaithersburg. Look around. That's who we are. So, and on behalf of the mayor and council and the city, I'm delighted tonight to present this year's Gaithersburg Distinguished Citizen Award to Janet Newman. Janet's lived in Gaithersburg for more than 3 decades, and her compassion and commitment to serving her community exemplify what it means to be a volunteer for the city. For more than half the time she's lived here, Janet has volunteered with Gaithersburg Help, working in many capacities: grants writer, doing outreach to potential partners and volunteers, and even website designer. Her most notable role, though, as you saw in the video, is as coordinator of the Gaithersburg Help prescription program. Humble to the core, Janet will undoubtedly minimize her role as coordinator of this program, sharing credit with a large team of volunteers. They work with her to field calls, discern the challenges, identify solutions, contact pharmacies, and ultimately get help for people who are often forced to choose between paying their rent and getting their medication that they or their family members so desperately need to stay healthy. But we know that this is Janet's lived experience. Her resiliency and determination, and most of all, her loving and generous nature that allows this program to continue to offer hope to so many people, doing so with the utmost dignity and respect. Janet is the heart of Gaithersburg, and we are so fortunate to be on the receiving end of her kindness and generosity. So it gives me great pleasure tonight that I present the 2019 Gaithersburg Distinguished Citizen Award to Janet Newman. Please join me in congratulating Janet. We're going to do a picture. Here's the certificate. And we have these other ones that aren't framed from Senator Kagan. We have your speech, too. All right. Okay, we have this tradition now. Get everybody in the back. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Ashman and the council members, for selecting me for this tremendous honor and acknowledgement. I am proud to be added to the list of the outstanding recipients from the past and for those yet to come, like our junior mayors. I'd like to congratulate the other awardees as well. My husband Dan and I moved to Gaithersburg in 1987, following the completion of his graduate work in physics at the University of Illinois. In graduate school, Dan came to Gaithersburg many times to do experiments at NIST and was subsequently hired at NIST as a research scientist. Dan is still there today and continues to enjoy the intellectual stimulation of working with brilliant scientists, staff, and users from all over the world that are benefiting from this vital facility. While science and work brought us to Gaithersburg, we have cherished every day since for the many qualities the city can be proud of. Our diversity and acknowledgement of the value of every resident, the commitment to education in our youth, our green spaces and strong environmental focus, the city's commitment to fiscal responsibility while addressing our diverse community's needs. This list could go on, but the key is community, which we've already spoken about. We are all part of this great community. Gaithersburg Help is the all-volunteer organization I have poured my heart and soul into for the last 17 years. For more than 50 years, the motto of Gaithersburg Help has been neighbor helping neighbor, and that's exactly what we do. On any given day, we assist 20 or more families to obtain food, infant supplies, to provide funding for essential medications that a person cannot afford, or to provide a ride for an elderly or disabled neighbor to a doctor's appointment. All Gaithersburg Help volunteers are just neighbors lending a hand to a neighbor in need. I could not be prouder of the work that I do with Help and of the hundreds of volunteers I have had the privilege of working alongside every day. To them and to every volunteer out there doing a piece that adds to the well-being of every person in our community, I sincerely thank you. But volunteers cannot do it all. I would like to offer special thanks to Maureen Herndon and her staff of Community Service Division. I see you way back there in the back, Juana and Carla. They work with and support Gaithersburg Help and the families we serve. Whenever I have a client need or concern that I can't handle, you and your team are always there for us, Maureen. Thank you. In addition, Gaithersburg has a wealth of city staff handling every aspect of our community's needs. From the mayor on down, care and respect are provided to all of us fortunate enough to call Gaithersburg home. Thank you, Dan, for bringing me to this greatest city in the world. Thank you.
How could you not come out of this event just not being so reinvigorated in love with your city? It's such a great place. Congratulations to Janet and Mary and everyone involved with the Kentlands Community Foundation. We are so inspired and appreciative of the contributions that you all make to make Gaithersburg the warm, welcoming place that it is. There's so much to be excited about in Gaithersburg, and in the spirit of Volunteer Appreciation Month, we ask all of you to continue to share your time and your talent and your passion and your ideas, allowing us to maintain the strong sense of community that makes Gaithersburg so special. So I wish you all on behalf of the city a good night, and let's do great things, Gaithersburg.